We in the podcast room. There we go. Getting this ready.
There we
Are
go.
you laughing? There you go.
How's it going, dude?
Crack him if you got him, yo. Crack him if you got him. Woo! I'm just kidding. Today's a serious. It's a serious day. It's not only the first day that I'm back, but it's also gonna be a serious podcast. So, you know, that's the only drink I'm gonna take. I swear. I'm gonna put the rest away, and it's gonna be great. This is gonna be Fighters Guild. We're gonna be discussing a lot of variety of topics. Sometimes we'll go over sports. It's not just a sports podcast. It's not a video game podcast or even something that's like specifically about like TV shows or comic books. It's just about a group of guys who grew up playing sports but also happen to be nerds. And yeah, so yeah, we enjoy video games and we enjoy sports, and we also like watch the UFC. So it's cool. So anyways, this is gonna be the first podcast where we essentially for this we're going to be just talking about essentially kind of two topics, but Andrew and I thought it would be a really great idea to kind of even discuss how we even came up with this name and sort of the psychology behind that, sort of the based off the things that we've been reading recently. So anyways, yeah, that's the overall rundown. And essentially what we're going to be doing from here on out when we do stream, and it's supposed to be essentially a weekly podcast. So if you like what you hear, follow along. We'll be posting stuff on our social medias because we intend to get serious with it. So that is the thing. But anyways, so I guess we could start off with the first topic that we were going to talk about, right, Andrew? Which was how we even came up with the name Fighters Guild. Because at first glance, it does seem like oh, it's just sort of like something that sounds cool, but there's a lot more meaning and thought that we put into it. A lot of the things that we do, especially like Andrew and I, because Andrew has his sort of like this deep appreciation for the power of words, specifically through like magic and things like that. So it's there's a lot of meaning behind the things that we do, especially the things that we put out there. So if you want to,
At least
you can go ahead.
stuff that we were touching on was like, I guess theoretically going after the sound body, sound mind stuff. If you're going to be a nerd, you got to work out your brain, but you got to work out your body or it's going to fall apart. And I don't know, me and Mike both became friends, I think, by like, I think picking apart your bookshelf, and I was like, oh, a Taoist book. And you're like, hell yeah, dude. And I think that even stems into our subject where one of our main topping points is kind of like Jordan Peterson and how he's like good and bad. But reason we called Fighters Guild was also, what is it, Elder Scrolls? There's always that Fighters Guild and Fight Club, and how it's like that personification of like toxic masculinity that people kind of use in the wrong way when it's supposed to be pointing it out and showing how to like be aware of the signs, instead of like people took it to praising it, and now we're trying to like bring back, I don't know, masculinity or equality, kind of going after that feminist thing of like making it all like
Great again.
I don't know, get rid of the toxic part. Get rid of the bad part, and you can't really throw away all of it. So you got to like work with what we got. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not just like you said, like obviously the Elder Scrolls reference is pretty on the nose, but essentially what we were trying to go for was the idea that there is this thing that at least we've recognized, as you can even say as people, right? There's the youth psychology and then there's the adult psychology, right? And a lot of people struggle from transitioning from the youth into the adult, and just because whether it be yeah, exactly, whether it be there a lack of rite of passage, sometimes it's not even necessary. It's just things that are ambiguous because we live in a secular modern world. It's a lot harder for people to come through and actually say like just think about it, right? With like, you have people who are like our age, like 29, even me, like people who say sometimes they don't feel like a quote unquote adult, right? Or it's like, you talk to even people who are like my brother, right, they're his age, and a lot of people like that just say like, am I adult now that I'm like I am 30, so it's a lot
I
more
think we were,
ambiguous.
I think we were talking about that, and a lot of like social and also like community building and the lack of community buildings and kind of the unfortunate byproduct of secularism is that we don't have a lot of like spaces to meet at the city in the city with your community that's normalized. But also with the weird rites of passages during those meetings, you could literally be like, "Hey, so and so, I put my fucking arm in the pain hole, so I have just the right to say as you because we all fucking put our hands in the, we all did the ritual. We put our hands in the pain hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever."
No,
Whoa,
exact.
sorry, I have you turned up, I guess.
Oh, my bad. No, yeah, exactly. So these are like sort of like don't look at me like Gary. These are yeah, so these are things that are, that are relatively, I would argue, that are important. And like again, Andrew and I have stressed that like these are things, even from his background, he has a background in, religious studies and things like that. So a lot of the stuff that he's familiar with are kind of like, you know studying cultures and different religions throughout, time. And so, a lot of these things are actually, I would argue, important. But yeah, just to circle all back though, originally, the meaning behind Fighters Guild and all that is essentially, it is sort of making fun of that like youth sort of aspect, right? Where it's like, oh, it's Fighters Guild. It sounds cool, like, yeah, these guys like fight. They're into fighting. They're manly, super manly and shit. But it's more about like the idea of the guild, ZGB, to circle back. Yeah, the idea behind like what is the guild, right? The guild is a community
Gotta come full
essentially.
circle.
Yeah, exactly. You always got to come full circle. Um, yeah, the guild is the community, so the community is the most important thing. So the appreciation. That's what we appreciate. I would say, is even though I come from the psychology background, he comes from a religious studies and anthropology background. They're both very similar in the sense that we're able to appreciate the sense of this sort of social transmission, right, between communities and all that.
Which, to kind of go on a part that I already mentioned, was a positive that I liked about Jordan Peterson. One of the few bits was that his obsession with responsibility and that people need to like more or less take more responsibility, which I think kind of ties into our little book about being the king and the weak king or the benevolent king. If you're the weak king, then everyone else around you suffers. Like if you're not taking responsibility, then usually people are taking responsibilities for you.
Yeah,
And I don't know. There's some parts that I like about him. Other parts that I don't is when he starts claiming like his views as scientific truths or like using religion to prove his points. And I'm like, I don't know. There's different parts where he mentions Taoism to prove his points, and I'm like, that's not what it says. What are you talking about? But I don't know. Where do you want to jump in with him?
yeah, no, specifically, I mean, yeah, I mean, aside from that stuff, I do like Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has some really good stuff in terms of, a lot of like the cognitive, the CBT stuff that he talks about. I think is great. Like a lot of people stand by journaling. Personally,
CBT.
CBT's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's essentially, it's kind of like a sort of like a new age sort of like um just, yeah, like cognitive therapy, except like the way how you try to do it is more so about like shifting a mindset rather than, than like, because a lot of times people like, even with like 12-step programs, right, they try to kind of like make it
Is that different than like psychosomatics or whatever that like craze was in the 80s?
uh what is that, the psychosomatics, like
I
when I
I
think of
only know it
psychos.
from like vague references from my dad and like self-help books that like you're literally
Mm.
supposed to kind of self-hypnotize yourself
Oh yeah,
in
no,
most
no.
cases.
This is different. This is more so about like let's say like let's say like you really want to like make it a habit to like, or or like let's say you really hate cleaning your room and blah blah blah. The way how you can go about it to make it more enjoyable, kind of like making the best out of a bad situation, right? Is just saying like, oh, I have to clean my room. You would switch your mindset, say, oh, I actually, I get to clean my room, and I even could like, play my own music and jam out while I'm doing it, So it's more so like that, more so about actually switching your mindset and switching like your approach and even like the overall like words, right? That are associated, because like how we've talked about, like words are really powerful, right? So even having some sort of like negative connotation can kind of like, I guess, could poison the well in a sense, right? To make things less enjoyable, you know.
Yeah, it makes me think of the like Zen phrase "carry wood, chop water," where it's just like just do it, or you kind of learn to have fun while doing the chore instead of thinking of it as a chore.
Exactly, dude. And you know what's crazy? Oh my god, that's exactly how I fell in love with running. It's not another beer, guys. It's a yerba mate. Don't worry.
Oh, I got one too.
Oh yeah,
Woo!
Justin. Woo! Crack that open. I'll turn you up now. Now that your echo's not there.
All right.
But yeah. So, anyways, that is how I got into running, because and it's
Should I say
curiously
backwards?
from I got into when I first started getting into like positive psychology and kind of like the whole like male, like positive male masculinity stuff. I just use quotations because it is a thing, like masculinity and like not tossing it out, right? But I don't, again, there's negative connotations where it's like a men's right activist guy where it's like, yeah, we got to get all the chicks out of here. It's like, no, I'm not saying that, dude. you know, but yeah, like the way
I am.
how, oh, you are.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, so like the way how I got into that was essentially when I was first getting into like the whole like positive psychology stuff. I got into Ty Lopez. You guys remember Ty Lopez? The guy on
Yep.
YouTube was famous for that. Here in my garage, like he's
Yeah.
like the wall of books guy. So I had his 67 steps. It was given to me. I didn't buy it. So let me just say that first off. It was actually not bad though. I got up to, I think, a little more than halfway. So anyways, one of the steps that he had was one of the times when because each step is like a story, right, or something like that. Like he tries to equate it to like a story in real life, like to show that he's actually knows what he's talking about. Anyways, one time when he was talking about like motivation and getting things done, he said that like when he lived with the Amish, because I guess he lived with the Amish for like maybe a couple months or maybe for a year or something. I don't know. He lived on an Amish farm. Anyways, the whole podcast or the whole episode is essentially about him, like how he's um like how he's never met anybody like more hardworking than the Amish, right? And he said that it boiled down to like, it's just a simple rule, which was just like quote unquote get it done. Like they have a saying that essentially is, the sooner you start, before you know it, you're halfway done, which is like, dude, when I heard that, I was like, dude, that's freaking mind blowing, and that's how essentially how I got myself to start making new habits, and that's essentially kind of gonna be sort of like a form of cognitive behavioral therapy, right? It's like, I guess it's a little bit like not as positive, but it's kind of like, sometimes we're gonna have to do stuff that we don't like, right? And sometimes we're gonna have to, essentially struggle with that. But at the end of the day, when we actually sit down and do it, it's a, not only is it not more manageable, but that's how you combat the anxiety of it.
Yeah. Um, just kind of brain fart. Uh, well, to be honest, it makes me. I usually think of doing chores where if you're already gonna have to do it, you might as well try to find the best way to do it so that it takes up the least amount of time and it's actually easy instead of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But there's also like a lot of references to like that search for the easiest way to do it is ways to like where people will get enlightenment from doing the dishes. Where there's supposed to be a lot of people, supposedly a lot of housewives in Buddhist literature, where people were doing dishes and they were like, I get it. Just because, like, I don't know, it's like a very meditative thing. They call it, what do they call it? Like, it's like a Madhva or Bodhisattva. Not a Bodhisattva, but there's like a Maitreya Sattva where it's like people who get enlightenment that aren't Buddhists. So they even
Yeah.
admit that people do it, but there's like You might even do it on accident, just like fucking cleaning your room.
What if
Not to like emphasize that much, but
no, yeah. What about what if it's like it's just all a ruse just to like make like women just cleaning all the time? Like, see, you can you can meditate while cleaning, women. Just
look, isn't this great? It's
Yeah,
just as
yeah.
meaningful as
Yeah,
owning
isn't
anything.
this great? It's just as meaningful as hunting. The right, some fucking assholes probably did that. Like, oh, dude, we should just lie to them. Like, fucking A. Oh my goodness.
That's where I feel weird, like with Confucianism and stuff, where it's like, well, the natural way of the world is there's steps. Everyone's in a hierarchy: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's number one's the dad, two's the woman, three's the son, four's the daughter. And if you disobey that, then the world sucks. And you're like, that's kind of fucked, right?
Exactly, no, exactly. No, dude, it's so true though, right? Because like, yeah,
like,
yeah, no, it's so true, right? Because the idea is like, they have the right ideas, but like, what they're essentially telling you how to apply them, or even how to, how they're ultimately coming, they're interpreting it, right, or drawing their conclusion is where they fuck up. Right,
like,
because it's like,
as long as everyone obeys the rules, and they're like, okay, so what are the rules for this? And they just kept going too far.
Yeah,
Or it's
yeah.
just like, dude, stop labeling everything. And they're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's true. Like a lot of those Eastern philosophies, like they they are pretty quote unquote like conservative, right? They, like, do you think you think like Buddha would have been cool with like transgender people? Like, I highly doubt that. You know what I mean? So,
I think he would degaff, but
oh
I
really?
like the joke of the Buddha. Well, the Buddha was super androgynous to a point that like a lot of like alchemy and religions say that like
Oh well, you would know
almost
more.
a
Yeah, I don't know.
transgender would be like the ultimate being because it's the combo of two people
Well,
and they get to, I don't know. It's
actually, no,
just
no,
like
that's true. Because I
they're
took,
the ultimate expression of like
yeah,
humanity in a
yeah,
way. It's
actually,
like worshipped in a lot of ways.
no, that's so true. Actually, when I took a human sexuality class one time, and they talked about like how in certain societies, like people who were like born as is the proper term hermaphrodite? I don't know if that's considered.
I
Intersex.
think that's negative
Say
now.
intersex.
Oh, okay. Born as both male and female body parts.
Intersex.
Oh, intersex. Really?
Intersex.
Yeah.
Isn't that non-binary?
No,
Or is
non-binary
intersex
is a
mean you're,
gender.
like,
No,
trying to
non-binary is someone who's identifying as neither male or female. Anyways, someone who is born with both male and female body parts, regardless, there's always like Anyways, they're seen as like people who are touched by like a spirit or God, because like you just said, like they're both they have both, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, to unfortunately use the word again, but a lot of alchemy, there's
Yeah,
like
it's
the 10
hermaphrodite. Oh,
steps.
okay.
There's like the 10 steps to like the ultimate
baby.
being, or like in the same way you're supposed to turn lead to gold, you're supposed to turn your body that's a piece of shit into gold. But the last step is you're called the product of the alchemical child or the hermaphroditic child. Like you're supposed to be
Yeah.
the unifying of all like men, women, fucking all of it.
Yeah, no.
But
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So I would honestly agree with that. Like he probably would be cool with it. He'd probably be like, "Yo, dude, like that's that's gay."
well,
Oh,
yes,
leave it at
but
Carrie.
actually,
Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. That's hilarious. Oh man, that's
dude,
funny. But
speaking of gay though, like with masculinity and stuff, it was weird how obsessed with man the Greeks were, like to a perverted extent. With like, do you know about like them grooming their kids, like Aristotle and Plato, where like basically like Plato was his master and Aristotle like you're supposed to teach them the ways of sex in that age, and there's the whole like weird like apprentice and a man supposed to do it, and then I don't know, it's
is that so?
it's
Like
some
when
rapey stuff.
no, well, is that's real though, right? Wasn't that real? Isn't that like that
Oh
whole
yeah,
thing? So okay, so
supposedly there's a whole like
so the whole
reference of like
pederasty, the pederasty of all of that. That's real. That was a real thing.
there's a whole like diary entry, I guess,
Finger
of
the
like
butt
Plato
and
seeing
stuff.
Aristotle coming in, and like he's just like talking about how fucking gorgeous he is and stuff, and then
Oh my god.
it's I was like, okay.
You know what's funny? That actually explains one of my favorite quotes. I think it's from Plato or Aristotle, where it's like it's talking about like something about the physique of a man, and it's talking about like I used to use it to like pump myself up to go run and like motivate myself to like work out, but it's talking about essentially like oh, the physique of a man is so great, why waste it and not really see it to its true potential. But now I know, now knowing this.
Did you know, like, also in Sparta,
Oh my god.
Sparta was also pretty gay.
I feel so wrong now. I'm all like,
Not to say
I'm
any
all
of
like
this is
quoting
bad.
it, putting it
Again,
on my
disclaimer.
Instagram. You know, everybody, I'm like, yeah, dude, look at this manly shit. You know, it's like talking about like dudes, like, oh yeah, dude, like they're no, they don't love the male body. They're in love with the male body.
Both just obsessed.
Yeah, we're obsessed. Yeah.
They have a high
Supposedly in
respect for
Sparta, like
everybody.
Sparta was so gay.
Sparta was
Not
so
as bad
gay.
as-
How
not
gay
bad.
were they?
Sparta was so gay that sometimes the women had to shave their heads in order to look more manly to attract their lovers. And then
Dude,
supposedly gay
I'm gonna tell that
love
to
was
my
like
girlfriend.
supposedly a
That's
gay
the only way
lover.
I can look at you now.
They would use it for like fuel for warriors, like the relationship of like being horny for your like guy on the battlefield was supposed to fuel your bloodlust. Like, oh man, I'm gonna do this to you later, and they're like, yeah, and they're like fucking killing people and then like combining it.
Dude,
It's
so
intense.
you're telling me like chicks with the Skrillex haircut, like that's like half a warrior, you know? That's half sexy or whatever.
I think it's pretty cool.
Of course you would, Justin. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
history's pretty funny. Everyone's like, whatever, like the times are changing. You're like, nah, time or what's it called? Antiquity, like did some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's
What is
crazy.
that, Professor Brothers? Like Sodom was named after sodomy, and Gomorrah was named after an even crazier
An even
move
crazier
that's gone
move.
extinct now.
Yeah.
It's just like
Oh man, Spartans didn't give a shit as long as you could fight and weren't born with defects. That is true. Have you played Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Is that the one with the Spartans? That's the one I have. It's not orange. Yeah, it's Odyssey. It's Odyssey. That one's pretty good.
say, yeah.
Dude, that one's really good. That one's really really good. I love that one. That's a really good game. But yeah, that's pretty interesting just to, you know, like come back and everything full circle as always.
Well, it's
Uh,
also funny too that like, well, again, to talk shit on certain people, but like Jordan Peterson and them always talk about family values, and then they derive it from this Greek and Spartan area, and they're like, what family values are you talking about? I don't know.
No, it's true. Yeah. It's crazy because like right, that's the whole thing, like how you and I have always talked about like the importance of knowing your history, right? Where again, I was talking about this with my girlfriend yesterday. We were talking about because we were watching American Dad, and at the end of American Dad, they were playing that. Have you heard that song that's like, "I am a real American"? Okay, so even like the lyrics, right? Listen
It's
to
a
that,
wrestling song, right?
From
Hulk,
or maybe
it's
Hulk
Hulk Hogan's
yeah,
like
but,
entry song.
oh, that's his. Oh, okay. I thought that was like a real like patriotic. I don't know, dude.
I thought it was wrestling. Maybe I don't know.
Probably is. It probably
80s
is.
was super
Hulk Hogan was in an
patriotic.
episode. Hulk Hogan was in an episode. So, anyways, just like even the lyrics, or either way, even the lyrics and the idea of that, right? You know, I'm a real American, fight for the rights of every man. You know, like that, right? Where it's like already putting us on a pedestal, or putting the nation, or this, right, or this thing.
You don't
that's
like propaganda?
I know, right? No, seriously. Oh, Mike, what do you say? You don't like being brainwashed?
Dude, the best movies are ones trying to brainwash you. Ones that aren't are usually kind of boring.
Well, there's a really good book.
That's right. Are you like, some propaganda is good, but I think people call that rhetoric.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like,
Yeah,
depending on if
seriously.
you like it or not. But yeah.
Yeah, seriously. There's a really good book I have called The End of Victory Culture. I need to get it back from my friend Michael, but it essentially talks about like that, like how right after I think right after the end of Vietnam, because that's kind of like when like a lot of like or actually yeah
The
that's kind of
hippies.
yeah exactly right at the end of Vietnam there was like an increase in surge of what people like call this like victory culture and things like that. So like GI Joe is on the rise,
Victor,
Star Victory.
but we lost.
um yeah, but I think it was World War II actually or something like that.
Uh,
But it started at the end of the Vietnam War, and then it like continued because we're pretty much like how many years did World War II pretty much like start after? Not when we officially got involved, but anyways, that's what the
what is
book
it?
talks about.
50, what is it?
Um,
46, 49?
yeah, something like that. But anyways, that book talks about like how like even like when Marvel comics came out and like when Star Wars came out and GI Joe and like and all these things, these were all like kind of like during an era in time where like America was kind of like essentially in a like a prosperity age, was kind of like also
Oh
full
yeah.
of this idea that like
Some might call it like Pax Americana or some shit.
yeah, exactly. Where like we were essentially like the nation of the fucking world, like we were the world police. Like literally like that Team America World Police, that's literally what we thought. That's why that movie's so hilarious because that's how we saw ourselves.
But
Because
Um
it's
something
true.
weird too,
It's
though,
funny,
is
but it was true.
there's
yeah,
like
but
weird parts where like America. I don't know. I kind of agree that America should defund its military, but it's also frustrating that in a weird way, some of our allies aren't having our back, or they're like making fun of us for having a big military, but then they won't have their own military, and you're like, well, make your own so we can get rid of it. I don't know.
yeah, I
It's
mean it's a little yeah, it's pretty complicated when you kind of
that's
start
where
to break it to
I've
like
been
the real
learning more
world, right?
about that stuff, and I was like, okay, I guess that's why. I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah, no, it's true, dude. We back a lot of people that are like relatively smaller.
or at least
Like,
partly why.
yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah. But to say what I was gonna say was essentially that um yeah, it's this whole idea like right where like if you actually study history and see the history and see like how America was formed, you would know that the only reason even why America was formed was on the whole back of the world. Like the world was sick of Britain being a superpower, like the French Navy helped us out. So like the idea like like fucking these fucking 13 colonies took on like a fucking world superpower at the time and single-handedly took them down. It's ridiculous, but people believe
in,
that shit because it's like
in
that's
weird
the
ways, it's kind of like what we did with like the Middle East, but we're the Middle Easterners, where the French just fucking hate the English because they're the world power. So they're like, yeah, we'll feel these guys who are like
yeah.
making you weaker. Fuck it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. But and that also doesn't even diminish anything too. That's why and that's the thing too. Like I feel like people kind of take that as like, oh, you're saying America is not great. It's like, no, dude, it's not. Or like I'm not saying
We
that.
have our own,
I'm
we have
saying
problems.
yeah. Everybody has their own problems, but of course, dude, like yeah, of course, like it's great, and the way how we formed was fucking great. Because either way, we were against odds, and we still did it. Regardless of help, doesn't matter. Like just because you have help doesn't mean like you're weak or whatever. So
Besides the lies or
or
whatever, the
whatever, it doesn't mean you're
propaganda
weak.
that besides the lies and or propaganda that was used to build our state, because that's what every state does. I like the idea back America seemed to have been, or at least from what it looked like, is that it tried to, because it's democracy, you need an educational mass, and it actually tried to educate its
French onion
masses. But
soup.
then at some point, there was like, it was like, nah, I would rather have you guys subservient than educated, which made us all kind of like fucking idiots instead of people that are like, I guess, trying our best to become an I don't know. It's that might just be kind of hoping that the past people were smarter, but or maybe believing that American exceptionalism, kind of going down that destiny thing where it's like I thought people like tried to get smarter back in the day, or like that was the whole point of voting, was like, yeah, I've done my research, I'm here to like participate with the state. But now it's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It sounds very patriotic of that, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah, no, I get it, and it's. I mean, even to like just quickly out on that, right? It's like the whole idea of like now that it's so on like the center stage, people are paying attention to it now, and people who might not have been paying attention are now paying attention to it. So now they probably think like, well, this shit is fucked, and it's like, well,
It's
to an
the
extent, like, yeah, but also it's like, well, yeah, it's because you haven't been paying attention as well. Like you've been,
that's
you know,
that's one of
you're
the problems I have
participating.
with like
You can't don't have shit to say.
yeah, that's another thing too, is when people don't, you're like, then what are you doing?
Mm.
Um,
But but
no, forgot.
anyways, well, anyways, just to to come back to everything. Yeah, that's that whole ideal of just cheers, my man. Oh, dude, yeah, yeah, cheers. Take that rip from me, yo. Shit. Let me come by and cheers with y'all later. I'm just kidding. um, this podcast is super cool. Thanks, Blowtorch. Appreciate you, man. I saw your message or you in the chat. What you said earlier. Don't think I didn't see it. I totally agree. Yeah, man. If you can get a mic, we'd love to have you hop in, dude. The whole point is to have like even like audience members and people in chat who want to come in and like add their own stance. They can come in and join in on the Discord and come in and try to weigh in. If they disagree, you can disagree, amicably disagree. No judgment here, man. This is like, this is the area where if you want to flex your head and try to like, try to think about things, you can totally do it here.
We both have some pretty good
Go open up about your dark
knowledge.
life. Hell yeah, dude. I love hearing a dark story that turns into a good ending, bro. So those are always inspirational, man. So if you got one, shit, let me know, man.
I always thought blowtorch beer was gonna be about dabs, but I think it's actually a creme brulee torch with how fucking dank all his cookings is.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, seriously. Let's give a quick shout out to Blowtorch Beer in the chat for having the the dankiest food postings in our Discord and the Drunken Crow Discord. If you guys want to join, go ahead hit up on my Twitch profile. You can go ahead and click
Also
on
mine.
and also on Bearded Ravens. You can also click on the Discord image right there, and it should be an automatic invite unless it doesn't work. It should be, but anyways, go ahead and join up in that, and that's how you guys can get a hold of us if you guys want to. If we respond, I kind of don't. You know how to respond to anybody. I'm just kidding. We're too cool. No, but anyways, yeah, getting in with our community. That's where we talk and post memes and stuff like that. Really fun. Everybody's invited. It's all good. We're all friends. You know the vibe. You already know.
Put that down.
Yeah, put that down. Michael, put that down.
I was about to do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, we can't do that anymore.
Oh, there we go. I see Justin now. Justin. There you go, baby. But yeah, man. So I mean, like to go back, like so yeah, the whole idea is to go back to like the whole Jordan Peterson thing, like the whole idea of hierarchies, right? Those are I would argue they are sort of like kind of like not necessary, but it's something that just happens.
I think
right?
they're useful, but
well,
they
it's not
shouldn't be like like set in stone almost. Where it's
yeah,
like
but you know what I mean in the sense like there's always going to be people who don't want to be helped, or there's always going to be people who are just going to be more overachievers and more motivated than the next person, right? So like essentially that's already establishing kind of like a hierarchy essentially, right? And that's what I mean, that like they're not necessary. It's just something that happens, but there are better ways to go about like making sure regardless of where you are in the hierarchy, you still have sort of like this axis and road to kind of allow you to
well, I think
navigate
you were
properly, right?
enjoying my description of like the German school system, and that I think it's like fourth grade is when you get to decide whether or not you want to go towards college or towards a trade
Like a
school.
trade. Oh, see, dude, yeah. That's exactly.
And so you get to kind of
exactly
choose what you're passionate about. So you're not like stuck, because usually people get dissatisfied or work slower when they don't give a fuck. But when it's
Yeah,
actually something
of course.
they
Look at
want
me in
to
high
learn
school.
about, then they feel like they're like, cool. I feel like kind of going the Marxist. You feel like attached to your product, or you're like, I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm putting out what I'm doing, and I like having feedback, all that kind of. Instead of just being like,
true.
all right, my hours are done. I'm out.
No, it's true.
Which
and
also
that
reminds me that there's like supposedly a German difference. I've been reading about that too. Like another one of if you clock out early, it's not a big deal. It's almost like good job, like you finished your work. Like it's more praise to finish things efficiently and well than it is for how many hours you put into the job. And I'm
Oh
like,
wow,
fuck
that's
yeah.
hilarious. That's totally different than the American way of thinking. It's
Because
like
then it
oh
turns into a war between the employer and the employee of trying to work the most for the least and the least for the most amount. And you're both like trying to do that versus like trying to have someone that's good at their job. I don't know.
yeah, exactly, right?
I feel like America's the only place in the world where overtime is seen as like a good thing, but overtime everywhere
Yeah.
overtime everywhere else in the world, it just means that you're inefficient. It just means
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah,
running
right?
overtime, you haven't
Yeah.
done your job. It means you haven't
Yeah.
done your job on time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's
And
so
I
crazy.
They're like,
well, the
well,
Like, no, overtime's cool. Yeah, we
Yeah.
supply a lot of overtime.
I know,
they're like,
right?
you really
Yeah.
put in the hours. They're like,
Highly
yeah, I'm
inefficient,
milking this
right?
pretty well. Which is
I know, seriously.
hilariously enough, actually, the complaint that I usually hear of like communism and shit, where they're just like, well, if you're not going to get promoted, then why would you work hard? And you just take your time and work slow at the job. And it's like, what, like horseshoe theory or something? You don't want to be like same shit, like different theory. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
No,
weird.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's I know it is crazy. To a certain at a certain point, like it really does matter in terms of
Like
like
different
having
factors cause it.
yeah, yeah, and
Similar
to go back to what you
affect.
were saying about like the people like falling in love with the product or something they make, I would say that's kind of like even sort of even going back to like the CBT stuff where it's about setting like some sort of goal, right? It's
Yeah,
something that
that's a
it's something that you can see that's almost kind of like not immediate, but an effect that you can see, right?
the hierarchies are kind of, well, to go alchemical, like as above so below, the same way that
Yeah,
you're like
exactly.
society gets better and progresses, so should you, and you
Yeah,
both like
exactly.
work to help each other with that
Exactly.
because you both want to just get better.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know,
And that's what I would argue.
ideally.
No, it's true, and that's what I would argue. That's like the quote unquote the selfish thing, right? Because the selfish thing is like, well, I want life to be good for me, so therefore I would want to like try to make life good for me in turn by also helping out the average man because I'm gonna or the average person around me because I'm gonna be living with the average person around me, right? So
That's the paradoxical, like, if you the best way to help other people is to be the best person you can be,
yeah,
and kind of going
exactly.
back in that Jordan Peterson theme again, if you have all of that, then you have the means to help someone who's in need. If you're always
Yeah,
giving away your stuff, eventually you won't have anything to give away. Like, you need to know
yeah. You need to know.
basically how to have a healthy ego
Yeah,
enough to.
exactly, exactly. Exactly, having that healthy ego. And I think that's what like and that's essentially to come back to like the main idea of the whole point of this episode was like why we even started the podcast was that what right was trying to help and seeing like a lot of the content creators that we watch and a lot of the people that we see who are out there sort of doing the same thing where it's like we feel like we can offer sort of that different perspective just because of our different backgrounds because we've been through it, we've done that challenging work so we understand how difficult it is sometimes where that struggle is real but you know it is all about having that community and having someone or not someone but like seeing that there are like-minded people because at the end of the day sometimes that's all you really need like just to hang out and listen to people who like are similar to you. Are you eating something, Justin?
Yeah, I'm opening up a package.
Oh.
He's eating chips.
Right
No,
after I
I'm eating.
spilled like that amazing I was kidding.
Yeah, I'm eating some sweet tart
Sweet
roast.
tarts. Oh my goodness, Justin. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Oh.
But yeah, so that's like the whole reason why we even like started the Fighters Guild was for that. Again, there's a million sports podcasts out there that break down fights that blah 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 do all this stuff about fights or analysts, and you should go watch them. Again, it has nothing to do with just specifically sports or UFC. It's essentially what we're going to be into, and sort of like again that uh that sort of positive like sort of behavior and like mentality, essentially reaching that adult mentality, right? That adult psychology and being the best person that you can be, essentially. You know, getting woke. We're getting woke together, y'all.
Or what is Jordan Peterson rescuing the father from the belly of the whale?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds so fucking
we're,
intense.
we're rescuing ourselves from the belly of the whale. You know what I'm saying? That's how we do it. That's how we do it here. That's how we do it here at the Fighters Guild podcast.
Nice.
Justin, what do you think?
What am I thinking?
Yeah, Justin.
This guild is for anybody who fights in any kind of sense. It doesn't have to be physical. It could be like
exactly
personal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Slaying the
whatever
personal dragon.
kind of struggles there are, we're gonna help you fight through it.
No, exactly.
That's what this is about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The fighting, again, right? Everybody goes through their own pain and their own like trauma and their own struggle in their own way. So we're all like fighting, quote unquote, the good fight.
We're fighting the dragon.
Yeah, exactly. We're fighting the dragon, fighting whatever
The
those thoughts,
dragon.
those intrusive thoughts that come in and try to make you, or not try to make you, like those unhealthy thoughts, because everybody has them. And at the
But
end of the
speaking of metaphorical fighting metaphorical dragons, I also found out. Well, one, we do D&D, and we're trying to get on that and want to do more streaming of
That is
board
true.
games
That
and
is true.
D&D. But Justin's shirt made me think about where I learned that the creation of Magic the Gathering was made for people waiting for their D&D crew waiting to assemble. So like if you got there early, you just played Magic until like everyone got there.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
that's
like
why this-
more intertwined than I thought.
Oh, that's
But-
cool. Yeah, I mean, dude. Apparently, D&D is the father of everything, like
Yeah, I'd call it like the
fantasy.
primary source to like every video game.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I never even knew that. Like, but I guess it makes sense, right? Like, tabletop would be the first, like, version of like video games, right?
That's what's trippy going through the monster manual or whatever. You'll just go through it and you're like, I know that from WoW. I know that from this
Yeah,
game. I know that
exactly,
from this
yeah,
game. And you're
yeah.
like, fucking what? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so true, dude. Honestly, like, yeah, if you ever want to like come up with some cool ass animals or like creatures and stuff like that, just go through a D&D like monster guide and then like combine two animals or two monsters or something.
I mean, all
you'll get
video
some
games-
inspiration. You'll get some inspiration somewhere in there, dude. Like straight up.
The coolest part about video games is they're basically doing the roll for initiative instantaneously.
Yeah,
So there's
instantaneously,
like
yeah.
running all the fucking stats while you just bop instead
Yeah.
of having to like, I don't know. But it's all, it's like, wait, it's all dice? It's
Yeah,
like, it
it's-
always has.
Yeah, it's always has been. Yeah, exactly. Except the dice is actually your own accuracy, even with some games, right? Like with first person games, it's like if you roll a 20, that's you like getting a nice headshot with like some good accuracy in that one shot, and then like you rolling a 1 is you like shooting everywhere, like oh fuck, when you pick up a gun and you don't even know the recoil, right? It's just like you're just.
That's like
shooting
me in a
everywhere.
more tower FPS when you like fucking get 1 or 2 kills and you're like running to stay alive and you're like, oh my fucking, just aim at his head and aim at his head.
Yeah,
You just,
dude. And once you miss, you just keep on missing.
you just start panicking.
Yeah, you just start panicking. Your mouse just goes, or your cursor just flies everywhere.
Or did you see that recent meme where it's like 1v5 and it shows him slowly picking him away and then he's like, good game, guys, and he goes to drink something and he's just like, shaking.
No.
That's how it is when you fucking pull off something so badass. You're like, good job, guys. And you're like, oh my god, I did it.
Dude, that is so true. Oh my god, that is so true, dude. That is always me, like in a like when I clutch something, just trying to act all cool, like like yeah, bro. You see that shit? Meanwhile, below the camera, I'm just like,
You're like, yeah,
It's like,
fucking
oh, shit.
easy. And you're like,
like while taking off my freaking like beanie, just going like, oh my god, dude. Oh shit. That's so true, dude.
I'm not one to be expressive for like video games and stuff like that, but I think I was playing Assassin's Creed Revelations, and I finally got like the top kill, like the last kill within the last 3 seconds, and I like jumped the fuck up and I started screaming.
That's hilarious.
I managed I managed to
Carrie
do, like,
says,
a-
not me, I fucking freak. Really? I just freak out all the time. Just download it and then edit it on Premiere. We'll throw it up on YouTube. I'll use your video. We'll use my video. You know, I'll cut it. We'll cut it back and forth. But yeah, I got it. It's all good. That was awesome. That was hilarious. You know, hey, at least we found that out when we had like 6 viewers and not like 10 plus.
Or a
Okay.
couple million.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
One day.
Yeah, one day, hopefully. But anyways, all right, y'all. Yo, what a great way to end that. That's hilarious. I think that was funny. I thought that was hilarious as fuck, to be honest. I enjoyed a good troll again. You know, if someone took time out of their day to troll us, that means we're doing something right. You know, someone must have was like, fuck these guys. You know, so that's cool. But anyways, shout out to all the people that came through the chat and for the first episode of the Fighters Guild podcast. That means so much. Thank you to Blowtorch Beer, to Sinbin, to Natalia. What are the numbers? I can't see the entire number. I don't see it anymore. Oh no, there's no numbers. It's just Natalia. Oh, okay. And shout out to Blowtorch Beer and Zujubi and everybody else that came through, even to the trolls.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Even to the guy who showed us his beehole.
Yeah, even to the guy who showed us his beehole, D Smash, whatever your name was. Thank you so much. Again, if you guys like what you saw, check us out on YouTube at Super Omelette, one word. We're gonna have a new skit uploading soon called The Mountain Lion, and it's pretty funny. So check us out. Thank you so much. Do what makes you happy. Exactly. Shout out to Blowtorch Spirit. Thank you so much, man. Zujubi, love you. Sinbin, love you. Natalia, thank you so much. Love you. Thank you, y'all. Thank you, Natty Crew. Kiss, kiss. You already know. It's your boy, Natty Mike. Kiss, kiss. Good night.